Hey, hi, hello, how are you? And here's the deal. I'm gonna be honest with you, I tried to film this video yesterday many times, but due to a lot of extenuating circumstances, namely, there's someone at the door. So, that was my dog. Hold please. Okay, so back to the extenuating circumstances yesterday, namely my wild children and my tendency to talk too much. That video did not work out. So although I looked more human than this yesterday and did not have wax on my sweatshirt and wasn't losing light, we're gonna try again. I got the time, so here we are. So hi, my name is Melissa. Today's special guest is baby Ginny. And today's video is going to be what I read in November. So I'm gonna put Ginny down so that I can jump into these books. In November, I did not have my biggest quantity month ever. Well, I completed 6 books for a total of 2,678 pages, finished, completed in November. I did read about 400 pages of another book, bumping my page count up to 3,078 pages read in November. That makes me feel better, but still, I read 6 books, all those pages. It wasn't my biggest number month ever, but it was still a really good reading month. And we're just gonna go ahead and grab the first book on the stack to talk about, which is actually, I think, the first book I chronologically read in November, so yay. And that is Exit Strategy by Martha Wells. This is the 4th book in the Murderbot Diaries saga. They are novellas, at least the first 4 are. They're very short. Can't get into synopsis with you because it is a 4th book, but I can tell you, that was my dog. But I can tell you that it is really good, brings you lots of the Murderbot goodness that I have come to know and love. We all know my obsession with Murderbot. I talk about it as much as I possibly can. Really enjoyed this. I think I gave it 4 stars. I don't remember why it wasn't a 5-star for me, if I'm honest, but I'm sure it was pretty dang close. 4 stars for Exit Strategy by Martha Wells. Boom. The next book on the pile, and I think also chronologically the next book I read in November, 2 for 2, is The Hod King by Josiah Bancroft. Can I scream it from the mountaintops anymore? I love Senlin Ascends and the Tower of Babel series. I know a lot of people say Babel. I listen to the Audible books as well, and the narrator is British. He says it Babel, Babel. You can say it however you want. It doesn't matter because the book is great, no matter how you say it. So, in The Hod King, again, this is the 3rd book in the series, so I cannot get into synopsis with you. I don't want to spoil you. That would be a shame. But I can tell you that The Hod King is probably my favorite in the series thus far. It is chunky and chocked full of just adventuring, found family, wonderful madness. You dive so much more into all the characters you know and love, meet some new ones that you grow to love and some that you grow to hate. You explore some new places within the tower, which in my opinion is, the tower is a character in itself, and I just love the heck out of this series. I plan to make a full review on all the books soon so that I don't waste your time here talking for hours and hours about how much I love this book. But this was a 5 out of 5 stars for me. We love The Hod King. We love the Tower of Babel around here. That's a package. Okay, moving on. The next book I read in November, which is Sword of Kygen by M.L. Wong. This was the Shelf Space Discord book club pick of the month, and actually already had owned this book because my husband picked it up, and he read it, he loved it. I'm gonna go ahead and tell the internet that he definitely cried while he read this book, and he has been begging me for months to pick up this book. So when I saw that it was the book club pick, I thought, why the heck not? The Sword of Kygen takes place in the Sword of Kygen, which is kind of this small town in the forefront of the Kygenese Empire on this mountaintop, and there lives all these warriors who can use ice and water to summon sweet blades, and Historically, they have been the defenders of the empire, the sword of Kygen, and it is set in kind of a more present day setting. They have technology and stuff, but it is still a pretty rural, traditional village. And we follow Mamoru, who is I think he's 14 or 15. He is going to school there and training to be a master of the blade, and his family is quite high up in society there. And we also follow his mother, Masaki, who, let me read the back to make sure what's a spoiler and what's not. Okay, so that is not a spoiler. That we also follow Masaki, and she used to be this like really badass warrior who, you know, could fight as well as any of the boys type of situation, but to appease her family, she entered into this strategic kind of arranged marriage and has put away her sword forever and just kind of lives with her kids and her husband, who she really doesn't get along with. And, you know, they live life as the sword of Kygen. And for years, there has been peace in the nation, but now some trouble has been stirring up, and it takes you on a wild ride. Now, the Shelf Space Book Club did discuss this in a live show, and I agreed with what 99.9% of people had to say. That this book, it is self-published, so I think it could have done with a little bit of content editing. Its pacing for me was like a little weird, and it definitely could have been edited down. So the first, I would say maybe 50 to 100 pages, I was like, let's pick up the pace here. But the middle of this book completely and totally makes it worth it. It is so beautifully written and has character work that just kind of makes you, character work that is done in so much depth, and for me, so much reality, that you really, really connect with these people. At least I did. And you connect with them in either the I love you, I'm rooting for you kind of way, and you also connect with people like, oh, I'm so frustrated with you, I don't like you very much, I don't get who you are. And I think that's a really good thing to have in a book too, is to connect to your antagonist as much as you do your protagonist. And it was just really good, guys. It did make me cry, I'll be honest, and I am a stone cold you know what. It takes a lot to make me cry, and this book really did. I, like most people in the live show, I absolutely hate the ending of this book. I don't hate the ending. It actually ends in a really, in my opinion, nice wrapped up way. But the last chapter of this book, like, literally should be thrown in the fire. It doesn't serve a purpose to this story. It serves a purpose to kind of tie into Emma Wong's previous series, which I have not read and I don't think is very highly rated. But the last chapter of this book is just for the trash, and the beginning can be a little bit slow. There are some issues with this book in general, like I said, in pacing and content editing, but overall it is a fantastic read, one of my favorites of the year. I kind of struggle between 4.5 and 5 stars. The only reason I struggle with it not completely being a 5 stars is those issues that I mentioned, but guys, this book is good. I liked it a lot. I was really glad I read it, and yeah, that's all I gotta say about that one. Moving on. Next is, I finally got to read Traitor's Blade by Sebastian de Castell. This is the first book in the Greatcoat series, and you guys, as much as I absolutely hate agreeing with Alan from Library of Alexandria, gosh darn it, he did it again. He was absolutely right. The Greatcoat series, at least this book, is phenomenal. It joins the Tower of Babel series in the category of one of my new favorite series of all time. And what is this about? You probably want to know that. So this book is follows around Falkio, who is a first cantor of the Greatcoats, this kind of noble band of men that was put together by this kind of benevolent King Palus, and they were brought together to bring order and justice to the land so that none of the dukes could get all crazy and tyrannical, is that a word? Tyrannical up all over the kingdom. The Greatcoats served as magistrates, riding through the land, hearing out cases, and singing out justice, verdicts, if you will. So, you know, Falkio has always wanted to be a great coat. It's like his childhood dream, and he finally is one. So life is going great, life is fantastic, and then all the bad dukes get together, chop the king's head off. The great coats are disgraced and disbanded. They're called tattercoats now, but Falkio is still holding on, and still he's out there for King Palis. King Palis left him, you know, of course, a cryptic kind of secret riddle of an adventure to do, and Falkio is still out there doing that. And that's when we join him and his friends. I think that's all I can say. Everything else is probably a spoiler, but you know, I loved this book. It has everything I want in a book, or that I tend to love. It's like, you know, the noble underdog kind of down on his luck and fighting for revolution. It's funny, it's very quick paced. I love, like, when Alan first talked about this and he said like they sing the verdicts and they kind of like singing is a part of it. I was like, that sounds wonky, and it is, but it like fits in perfectly, and it honestly adds so much atmosphere and fun. I really enjoyed the world and the characters. I love Falkio and his friends. I love a good like friendship, found family bond. It really like gets me every single time in a book, and I just really enjoyed this. I cannot wait to read the next books in the series, because everyone says number 1 is the weakest and the next ones are fantastic, and I loved this, so I can't even imagine how much more I'm going to like the other ones. Dang you, Alan, for being right again, but at least this time he shared a completed series, so I'm excited for that. This is obviously a 5 out of 5 stars for me. Cannot wait to continue on with Traitor's Blade. Boom. Next book. Okay, y'all. Actually, we're going to talk about this book last. Let's choose this one as the next book, and that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I read this in November, and I had an okay time. This was my book club of the month and my first V.E. Schwab novel, and I definitely get what people are talking about when they talk about how beautiful and atmospheric V.E. Schwab's writing is. The prose is truly beautiful, and especially in the beginning of this book, it just like sucked me in, you know? This book follows Addie LaRue, who back in the day kind of unknowingly made a deal with a demon in which, you know, she gets to live forever. She is immortal, but the downside of that deal that she did not know going into it is that no one will remember her, and she cannot leave any mark on the world, basically. So anytime someone leaves a room that she's in, or the day turns, or, you know, whatever, they completely forget her, and she cannot say her name, her true name. She cannot write her true name. She can't, you know, contribute to the world in any lasting way. And this book follows her both through a series of flashbacks, like Addie pre-deal, Addie right after the demon deal, and now we're, I think, in 2017 in New York City, where, you know, after hundreds of years of living with this curse, Addie LaRue walks into a bookshop and someone remembers her. And obviously that flips her little world on its head. Like I said, in the beginning of this book, totally in it. It was so beautiful. I felt for Addie. I was curious, like, where it was going. I was, you know, really felt like I was struggling along with her as she adjusted to this curse, and sad with her as she kind of lived with the repercussions. However, it is in the synopsis that she goes into a bookshop and someone remembers her. That does not happen until like kind of pretty far into the book, and I felt like I was waiting for that the whole time. And after those first initial chapters of getting to know Addie and seeing her in situations before, right after, and way after being cursed, up until we got to the point where she was recognized and the story kind of shifts, I felt like I was reading the same chapter over and over and over and over. I was like, yeah, this is great, this is good, this is beautiful, but it's like the same thing, just a little different than what happened, you know, in the last chapter. And I love me a good evil villain type, and I don't even remember the demon's name in this. I think it was French or something, but I liked him at first, but then he just kind of like fell flat for me. I was like, you're not very scary. You're actually kind of a creepy perv, and just wasn't doing it for me. The guy who recognizes her in the shop, I also don't remember his name. I did really, really love him. He kind of saved the story for me later on. He had a great group of friends. He was, you know, definitely a flawed character, but someone that I could understand and relate to, and I liked where he propelled the story to and what he added to it, but it just wasn't enough for me to completely save the book. I did give it a 3.5 stars, which is pretty low for me. I like give everything 4 or 5 stars. I really do. I feel immense guilt when I rate a book low, but this, just in my heart, it's a solid 3.5. Towards the end, really did not care what happened to Addie. Really didn't care what was going on, and the ending was fine. I was like, cool, that's awesome. What a way to wrap it up. And then I moved on. I read this, you know, like a month ago, and I don't remember anyone's name but Addie's, and her name's on the cover. So I did like this. This book gets a lot of hype. I can see why people love it. I really can. I thought I was going to, and I did like it. I enjoyed it. It just wasn't a 5-star read for me. That is enough talking about Addie LaRue, because we are on the last book that I finished in November, and I was really excited to read it. That was The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. Guys, I talked about it in my last video. This book was basically a bomb thrown into the shelf space Discord that caused some Civil War craziness up in there, and I had not read it, and I needed to know what team I was on when it comes to this book. It seems there's no in between, at least in the Discord. You either love it or you hate it, and I am a proud member of Team Iron Man. I really liked Rage of Dragons, and I went into it like super cynical. Like, I was like, I am probably not going to enjoy this book, because a lot of the people in the Discord that I tend to agree with their thoughts on books and like their recommendations and dislike their dislikes did not like this book. This one, guys, I really, really did like it, and I'm not ashamed to say it. This is a good book. Stop ragging on Rage of Dragons. So I forgot the synopsis again. Let's jump into that. This book follows Tao, who lives in a kingdom that has been at war for basically like ever, and he has trained his whole life to become a warrior. It's kind of just what you do in his world, right? Like, training and becoming a warrior in his society is kind of how you elevate your status, especially as a common folk, a person that is not a member of the nobility. Tao himself is a high common, meaning that he's not like, you know, the lowest of the low, but he's definitely not a noble. And, you know, Tao in the beginning of the novel is doing pretty well. He lives with his dad, who he really loves and respects, and who trains him. He's got a good friend. He's kind of got a little girlfriend going on, and I really should, before I film these videos, like read the synopsis so that I can remember what's a spoiler or not. But this book doesn't have anything on the back, so I'm gonna tread super carefully and just say that something very traumatic and upsetting to Tao happens, and it kind of turns his whole life upside down and sends him on a journey definitely fueled by anger and revenge, which is what a lot of people's issue with this book is, that Tao doesn't have any more depth than just like this angry, vengeful kid. And that is true. He is an angry, vengeful kid, and it consumes his mind. But I saw more character depth than I think most people did. I don't know why. I like Tao. People hate Tao. I like him. I don't really get the Tao hate. Maybe you guys can like explain it to me down below, since I missed when this all went down in Discord, but I liked him. I understood him. Was he kind of flawed and annoying? Absolutely. He's one of those characters where as you're reading, you're like, oh, I feel so uncomfortable with the choices that you're making in your life right now. But I understood kind of where they came from. This book does have, I think, a really cool magic system where basically like they test all of the women in their society when they reach a certain age, and certain women have the ability, I can't remember what it's called. It like, my brain is cream cheese and I can never remember anything, but they can do this kind of magic where basically the women can enrage or strengthen a warrior, making him like super big and strong and able to fight more in battle. And obviously they got some dragon friends helping them along in the war. And I did really enjoy the magic system. I enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed, you know, all the let's get down to business training scenes, which was another thing a lot of people didn't like. There is a lot of training scenes, guys. Like of the book, like this much is pure training and fight scenes. But I'm an action junkie. I like that kind of stuff, and I understood why there were so many and why they needed to be there, so it didn't bother me. And I especially loved the ending of this novel. It kind of, you know, introduces some political intrigue and some, you know, those kinds of things at the end of books where like some stuff's about to go down. That's what happens at the end of this, and I personally really like that. So for me, this was, I don't remember what I gave it on Goodreads. On the tip of my tongue is 5 stars, but I think I gave it a 4. I don't know why. Like I said, cream cheese for brains. I have trouble remembering, but I'm a proud member of Team Iron Man. This book, I really liked it. I can't wait to get into Fires of Vengeance, and I really think it's just gonna get better and better and better. So 4 to 5 out of 5 stars for me, Mr. Winter. Great novel, loved it. Iron Man for life. So those are all 6 of the books that I finished in November. 2,678 pages to be exact. I really can't pick a favorite this month because honestly, like 5 out of 6 were really, really, really good 4 to 5 star reads for me. The only book like I didn't super vibe with was LaRue, but I still enjoyed it. So overall, not the highest number of books read, but definitely high quality books read. I finished the existing books in the Tower of Babel series with Hod King, Choice, Chef's Kiss, started Greatcoat, which I know is going to be one of my new favorite series and just continue to get better. Read the great standalone Sword of Kygen, and pledged my allegiance to Team Iron Man with Rage of Dragons. And yeah, overall, a great reading month. Just to mention it, since I did mention I read about 400 pages of another book, and I want to up my own page count to 3,078. I did read about 400 pages of The Way of Kings at the end of November. I just finished this book today, actually, and yeah, again, 5 out of freaking 5 stars. We like Way of Kings. So I will obviously talk about this in my December wrap up, but that is where the other 400 pages in November came from. So that's it. I don't got anything else for you. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.